South Carolina poll may indicate trouble for Joe Biden, just as he was counting on that state for a big win.
We are back with Maximilian Alvarez, writer and host of the Working People podcast, and Patrice Onwuka, senior policy analyst with the Independent Women's Forum. All right, it's an outlier. It has a decent margin of error, but this is a quality poll. I mean, this
Post and Courier.
Post and Courier is a very good poll in South Carolina, showing some major movement. So Joe Biden still at the top, but first time down to a single-digit lead in the state of South Carolina at 27. This is a 3-point drop from the poll they did a month ago. Sanders up at 20%. This is a 7-point upward jump for Sanders from their last poll. And then Warren at 19, Buttigieg at 9. Those represent no changes, so they were static here. But Patrice, you know, this is, if you're Joe Biden and you're counting on this South Carolina firewall, this has got to make you very nervous.
Of course it is, because he wrote off Iowa, wrote off New Hampshire, thinking, oh, I'll go big and bad in South Carolina. I will prove I've got the black vote on lock. And he's starting to see that erode, which suggests that, you know, it is sending the message to potentially other black voters nationwide that, yes, Joe Biden may not be the vote that you can count on, or maybe you should consider someone else like Sanders. I will say it's interesting to see Bloomberg at 3%.
Yeah, I know.
So obviously that big spending on all those
$100 million will get you something.
It will get you something.
He's been at least 3 to 5 in every poll we've put up on the show this week, and that just goes to show you $100 million. It can't buy you the race. It can buy you a dent. But I mean, Max, generally 40% of these voters are with Bernie or Elizabeth Warren and not Joe Biden. He no longer has that plurality according to this poll. But that's a sea change in politics if that actually happens. That truly is a major break in the race.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be. And, you know, I mean, we all know that this is a contentious race.
Yeah.
Everyone has their hands at the wheel, is trying to outmaneuver each other. Biden is the human jalopy of this race. Right? His engine has been squealing, parts have been flying off. The longer that he's been in this, and literally, and on top of like Biden himself kind of falling apart. I mean, his ideology is janky as hell too, and I think people are seeing that the longer that he's in the spotlight. Like when Biden, you know, goes up to, you know, working people and he says that, you know, you fought hard for your health care and we're going to make sure that you can keep your health care. And he uses that as an argument against things like Medicare for all. That is not the winning message that centrist Democrats think it is. Right? Because working people aren't stupid. Right? And we talk about this all the time when I interview them on my podcast. Right? And all you have to do is just listen to the people around you. Right? They know that, you know, they have fought so hard because they have to, you know, secure health care in their contracts. But imagine what they could be bargaining for with their unions if they knew that all their members were already taken care of. What they hear when they hear people like Biden making these sorts of points is that you fought hard for your crumbs, and we're going to make sure you can keep your crumbs. Just don't ask for anything more.
You know, Patrice, we had Senator Nina Turner from Bernie Sanders' campaign. And so, look, she's obviously got a perspective here. But she's been doing a lot of work on the ground in South Carolina on behalf of Senator Sanders. And she said something very interesting to us that your comments reminded me of. She said, don't take any voter for granted. You have to earn their support. And this was said specifically with regards to Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg. But in particular, she was saying it about Joe Biden. He assumes that this group of voters is just going to be there for him, that he doesn't really have to do anything, doesn't really have to speak to their needs or their interest. He can just assume that if he says Barack Obama enough, that's going to be enough. This poll, look, it's one poll, and I want to be always clear that today Joe Biden would be the Democratic nominee if current trends hold. But this poll shows that strategy of basically taking this vote for granted may be starting to slip.
Well, and that's what Hillary Clinton did in 2016. We saw that what happened to her.
They either didn't vote or they voted for Trump in higher margins than Romney.
Exactly. You know, it's insulting. Now, number one, the black vote is not a monolith. And so obviously just saying, oh, well, I'm with Barack, you know, that's going to be good enough to win all the black voters. And that's not necessary. That is not the case, I think, going into the 2020. You know, what's also interesting here is that Joe Biden, if he does not do well here, this is a huge argument to make for Hillary Clinton to come in and say, you know what? what? I am going.
No.
Yeah, well, but
Let it
I've
happen.
talked to my Democratic
Let it happen.
strategist friends
Yeah.
who have said, you know what? She has a turnkey, flip on the light, kind of national campaign ready to roll if Joe Biden
did not think you were going
out.
to Hillary.
I love it.
But this opens the door
it
because she can now make an argument. If you can't even win South Carolina, who can you win?
Right.
And by the way, I won how many millions of votes? Please give me another.
But I think this is why Bloomberg's in the race.
Yep.
I think he's thinking, look, if Biden's the human jalopy of the race, he's thinking like you, right? When this guy falls, I'm going to be there. I don't know that, but I think Bloomberg is foolish to think that he is the person that black voters or any voters would go to if Biden were to actually fall.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I mean, and I agree with Patrice that like these voting blocks are not monolithic, right?
Yeah.
And there's something that kind of astounds me about this, right? Is that when in 2016. Bernie was tarred and feathered left and right, about kind of having a base that was all kind of like white dudes, like, the Bernie bro. Kind of phenomenon. Now that, like it has become more apparent, like who his kind of diverse working class base actually is, that talking point has largely disappeared. And yet, people are not smearing, Pete Buttigieg for polling terribly with black voters and Latino voters the way that they were smearing Bernie. And so I guess I just wanted to make that point, not out of, just spite, although there's some of that, but just for people watching, be aware of the intentions of the people who are trying to convince you that these points matter for one candidate and not for the other. And in terms of Hillary Clinton possibly running, I mean, that's a Friday the 13th proclamation. I don't know. I can't say.
Well,
Well, you
everybody,
cross that
let's
bridge,
get
people.
hashtag Buttigieg Bros trending. Make sure you tag Max.
Oh, that's great. I like that.
If you can do that for us, we'd all be very
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Next week on Rising, friend of the show, Michael Brooks. He's going to tell us what he's watching at next week's Democratic debate.
And we are going to dive deep into public education and where each 2020 candidate stands on that issue. Very important one that deserves more attention. Everybody have a fabulous weekend. We will see you back here. Make sure you watch for our content that we post over the weekend, too. See you soon.
See you, Bear.